Hello.
Hi, Peter.
Not only good to see you, Erin and Tim and Lishan, of course, but also some of my favorite community members are on the call. So these folks are actually quite knowledgeable about the area, way more than I am. So I'm glad that they're here.
We'll give it a couple more minutes to see if other people will join. Okay, why don't we go ahead and get started? We're not doing any voting or anything like that tonight. We're just going to kind of recap what has been going on so far. So this is more of an information type meeting, so we can just go ahead and run through the Franklin Street sidewalk. So just to bring everyone up to speed, the last Belmont Task Force meeting was February 12th, 2019. The group discussion was mainly on the Franklin Street sidewalk. Just in general, the Belmont Priority Neighborhood Task Force deals primarily with the community development block grant funding, and this is funding that's issued by HUD. These are federal funds that the city receives each year as an entitlement community. The role of the Priority Neighborhood Task Force is to recommend to City Council projects to enhance and improve access to neighborhood amenities. And in this case, the Belmont Priority Neighborhood recommended to City Council the Franklin Street sidewalk, which was approved to create a new sidewalk on the west side between North Moores Creek Lane and Nassau Streets, which was approximately 1,600 feet of new sidewalk. In general, the Community Development Block Grant funding, CDBG for short, was funding that could only be used in the Belmont Priority Neighborhood area. This was the census tract that encompassed that Belmont Priority Neighborhood area. And Belmont received a CDBG award of $449,214.31 from HUD. As far as where we are now, I'm going to let Tim Mosh, who is our project manager, speak a little bit first, and then I'll give the CDBG update as well. So Tim, if you want to take it away from here.
Sure. For those of you that don't know me, again, my name's Tim Mosh. I've been with the city since July of 2017 as a transportation project manager. Myself and Kyle Kling were hired in order to manage transportation projects, including the sidewalks, which I have been involved in, as well as smart scale projects that I've been involved in, such as East High Streetscape and Emmett Streetscape. The Franklin Street Sidewalk project, as Aaron stated, was chosen to make use of the HUD funding. And we brought A. Morton Thomas on board as engineers in late 2018 and began design shortly thereafter. It is a challenging plan from the point of view of stormwater management, being that we're, depending on which map you look at and which datum you refer to, the sidewalk is either right next to the floodplain or in some cases in the floodplain, which creates permitting issues and such. It took a while to get a design regarding stormwater management and how it relates to this project to the approvable stage, and we're just about there at this time. Add to the fact that last year, for several months, all sidewalk projects were on hold due to the possibility of having to use the city funds as emergency funding for other measures. We've had some hiccups in the schedule that we're not comfortable with. We feel those are behind us now, and as Aaron, I think, has probably spoken to this group before, we are looking to start construction on this project spring, early summer of next year. We are currently going for right-of-way, and we have sent out multiple letters to each property owner, some of whom we still have not heard back from. I personally have spoken with 5 separate property owners, and 4 of them appear to be in favor of the project. One has concerns. She grew up in the neighborhood and honestly is worried that not living in the neighborhood anymore, she would have, she's not sure it affects her property management in a good way regarding snow removal. But I think that is something she's expressed the interest to work with us, so we can, I think, expect to come to some understanding. The bottom line on right-of-way is we want to have that phase closed this year, by the end of the year. That means having any necessary agreements and deeds recorded and any compensation agreed to by the owners and paid, which would allow us then in the spring to advertise and start construction. One other aspect of this, some of you may be aware that we're looking to cooperate in an effort for increased street tree planting along the sidewalk. We've had a couple of discussions with folks from the Tree Commission, as well as a couple of property owners. So we're hoping we'll be able to fold that into this project at a savings. If we tried to do the street tree planting by itself, it would probably cost a little more. But once we have a contract on board, we can use that mechanism to get maybe a little better price and, you know, get more trees for the dollar. Is there anything else anybody wants to hear about regarding the project?
I could talk a little bit about the CDBG side of things. So as far as HUD's point of view, one thing to keep in mind is HUD imposes spending timeliness with CDBG projects in general. Normally, funds are required to be spent within 1 year of receiving CDBG dollars. And that's just because both the city and HUD have reporting requirements. So the city has reporting requirements to HUD, and then HUD has reporting requirements to the OMB. So if HUD gives me money today to build a sidewalk, I should have that sidewalk built and done April 11, 2022. So the project needs to be closed out within a year. There are consequences when CDBG funds aren't spent within a timely manner. Normally, the activity gets canceled and funds have to get paid back. Those are the two big ones. Because of some of the delays that have occurred this past year and a half with stormwater, COVID, right-of-way, a portion of the funding for Franklin Street Sidewalk did get reprogrammed to another activity to get spent down immediately to meet one of HUD's deadlines, and that happened on February 16, 2021. That doesn't mean that the money just goes away. The project will get refunded back the portion of the money from February, and that'll occur on July 1st, 2022. So that's what the next CDBG funding that the city receives. However, it's very important that we receive public support with the right-of-way moving forward so that we can secure this funding and there aren't any delays moving forward. We are facing the same timeliness issue with the second half of the funding that we have right now. So it's about $204,263.49 that needs to be spent down immediately. HUD has issued a timeliness warning for the Franklin Street sidewalk. The second warning will be issued towards the end of the year in December. Again, it's the right-of-way that we really need public support on, and we're hoping that we can get that support from both the task force, the Belmont Carlton Neighborhood Association, and the public in general. So I'm going to open it up to questions from the task force first, and then we'll go to the public. So Peter, any questions?
Yeah, so one clarification question, simply because I wasn't taking notes well enough. So Tim, when were you saying you wanted to have the acquisitions wrapped up? Was it the end of the summer or the end of the calendar year?
End of the calendar year as a drop dead time. We feel like we can have it wrapped up earlier, but I would never want to say we're going to have it by the end of September when I know there's always a possibility it would be the end of December.
Okay. secondly, this is not a question, but as the only task force member sitting here, I would say personally, I would definitely endorse doing the street trees and the sidewalk at the same time. Like it's crazy from a project management perspective. It's not always done that way. So yes, please definitely do that. And street trees are badly needed. I mean, you might have run the GIS, but the cover is close to zero there. And there is the water issue, which the trees could only help with. Next question for you, specific to your presentation, and then I came in with one in my pocket as well. You had talked about public support. What does that look like in your view? You had mentioned the task force endorsement, which I can't speak for everybody. The neighborhood association, now we've heard positive things from them. And again, I can't speak for them, but I think you're likely to get whatever endorsement you need. And they're meeting later tonight. If neither you guys go to that, I'll mention it to them as well. And then general, like, communications of support from the public. What does that look like? Is that letters, emails to you? Does that mean them reaching out to council? What is most helpful?
Tim, do you want to talk about the certified letters and what's required from that?
Yeah, and Peter, I think there are certain things that the city is required to do, and regarding right-of-way acquisition, there's the Federal Uniform Act, and any project that uses $1 of federal money, and of course this one is entirely funded by federal money, required to meet the requirements. So as far as sending out certified letters, we have sent out 2 rounds of certified letters with packages of information and plans, and as well as the standard VDOT booklet of property owners and renters' rights, that keeps folks, I think, open to what's going on. We will be sending out another round of certified letters here within the next week to week and a half, which is, I think, a little more urgent, trying to get people's attention that have not responded so far. If my understanding from the city of Charlottesville is the last thing we want is for something to get to a flashpoint where we're trying to have a project where we're taking people's land through condemnation or something. We will avoid that at all costs. However, we do have to hear from a number of people yet. What we're asking from your group is not so much to get involved in that, because the law doesn't have and the regulations don't have a place for that, for folding you in to do that. The folks, what's been helpful to me is people, I think, such as Jenny Mikulski and one other individual in the neighborhood who have expressed support, is they have talked to neighbors. And as a result, we've had folks that had seen letters gotten in touch with us. So I think the word of mouth type of thing is very helpful. The other thing is this effort with the tree commission and the street tree planning. That is where I think neighborhood involvement, where neighbors talk to each other, maybe somebody takes upon themselves to knock on a door to say, we can get trees. Are you willing to listen? That would be helpful on that effort. So those are the two things, essentially knocking on doors for the sidewalk and for the tree planting.
Okay, so that's lateral communication between citizens that
Correct.
I'm hearing about. That gets me to the question I had in my back pocket, which is ultimately, like, of course, due process, of course, going to the letter of the law and going one step beyond that and due process. But if there's a moment where you're simply not hearing back, does the city require actual affirmative consent from every landowner, or it simply absence of objection? Part A to that, and part B to that, is that a political decision that council ultimately
Okay, yeah,
makes?
and the answer to your first question is the only people we need affirmative assent or signing an agreement are folks where we are either doing temporary work on their land or we are acquiring a permanent easement for installation of, say, a utility or something along those lines. Those are, and so those are the folks that we are talking about. There are a number of properties along this frontage where we are not impacting them at all, and there's no action required there. As to if we are not successful, and when I say not successful, I would say that by noon, if we don't have contact with every one of the folks we need agreement from, then we'll go to the next level, which is essentially the city attorney, sitting down with the city attorney and seeing how we go about what could probably result in condemnation, which would require city council assent.
Okay, so thank you for those answers. I'm actually eager to get to the public portion because Jenny is one of the public, and Bill also is quite knowledgeable about the area. But I just want to be totally clear that if we were, number one, if we were replacing a gas line or something and some absentee landlord simply refused to pick up the phone, the gas line would find a way to get fixed. And we need to do that. And then second, simply pointing out that this project is not a new project. It's actually, it's in the comp plan, it's in the Streets That Work plan, it's in the city's bicycle pedestrian plan. And I would hope that somebody not taking a phone call is never sufficient grounds to veto all that hard work the community's done in the past.
And I appreciate that. This project, the list I saw in the priority, the city's priority sidewalk list was 2011. That's 10 years ago.
Right.
It's been around. I don't think anybody intends to let this lie. Certainly no one on our end, Aaron's group or my group, and nobody else in the city. I think, and as you say, if this were a gas line, we would get it replaced, regardless of the owner's lack of attention or the owner's opposition. And we have looked at what if we had to do things that would drive up the project price, such as move the sidewalk further in the street and build more street on the other side of the street, which is not a good thing to do for any number of reasons, both cost and environmental, because the other side of the street is mostly in floodplain. And the last thing you want to do is disturb that area. So
And in Albemarle County as well, correct?
correct, yes.
Yeah.
You know, we will work with people even at increased cost to some extent, but our intent is, you know, to have this project go ahead. And our intent is also not to have to condemn, and hopefully we can do both.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's been a good update from my perspective. Thank you for doing that. I definitely want to hear what the other folks on the call are saying, and I'm sure we'll like wrap up or come back together at the end. So let's bring them in if we can.
Okay, we can open it up for public comment. If you have any questions or would like to speak with the task force, you can raise your hand with the raise hand icon below.
Looks like we have one right now, Bill Emery. Bill, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can. So I was curious if there's anywhere, as the city sometimes does with projects they're involved with, where there's information about the project. You know, it's sort of hard to talk to people. I mean, I guess Jenny's seen plans, but is there an overall plan and sort of a breakdown of, well, the street's going to be X feet wide and there's going to be a bike lane and the trees are going to be here? Just a way that one could be more informed and be enthusiastic about it and sort of talk it up. Because, you know, I don't really know anything about the plan.
I can answer that. The sidewalk projects are generally, they're not the same as the smart scale projects where there's an actual website per project where all the plans are posted and that sort of thing. The plans have historically been available to look at NDS. These days, that's not only easy to, hard to do rather, but it's a lot to ask of folks. My understanding is plans can be posted. It's not done on a regular basis, but I'll have to find out exactly where sidewalk plans can be posted because I honestly don't know. But if you, and what's the best way to get back to you with that information? Should I go through you, Peter, or?
I can forward it to Bill unless, you know, I
Okay.
won't speak to Bill. I mean, he may have a different preference, but if he has no preference, I can forward.
Okay, I'll see that how that, I believe that can be done. I'll find out how it's done. I'll post the plans and I'll get with you. I'll send that information to you, Peter, with the intention to send it to then to Bill.
Thank you. Because actually between the transition at NDS, the website being redone, and now COVID, I don't have those plans myself.
Right, right.
So Bill's 100% right. And I know this project, having the actual plans and a quick little one-pager summary that talks about the budget would be, you know, quite helpful.
Okay, okay.
So the next person is Jenny Mikulski. I hope I said that right. 1 second. Hi, Jenny.
Myself here. Hi. It's good to see everyone.
Hi there.
Hey, Jenny.
I did piggybacking on to the last remark. I had a set of the plans, Tim, that were mailed with me in the original packet. And I gave my copies to Peggy Vigneris because she's working on the trees and she was interested. Those were very technical. It was a document set, including because you know, for my property, we had to have a discussion about the water line, which is going to be relocated. But I think my relationship with Tim began when I called after getting my packet because I thought I was going to lose my 2 Japanese maples in front of my house as part of that work. And so thank you, Tim, for Tim's first effort was on my behalf was to go back and have them redo the drawing just to reiterate his point about the stormwater down here, to relocate the water line in the other direction and save my Japanese maples. But to Bill's point about doing neighbor interfacing, like I don't think that those images would cut it, and it would be really great to have a cut sheet that was a simplified diagram, maybe in plan view and maybe just one perspectival drawing, kind of giving someone without training an idea of what the finished image would kind of look like. And especially if we have to knock on doors, which
Right.
I volunteered to do. I also, I can't remember the final count and I'm having trouble locating my spreadsheet at the moment, but I had done a spreadsheet of all of the addresses in question, but I'm sure you have something similar. Do we have a sense of how many residents we are waiting to hear from?
Sure, I'm looking that up right now. Bear with me. Okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like we have 5 more folks that we have not heard from.
And of those 5, were most of them or any of them the ones held by LLCs?
Looks like all but one are. And one was, yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
And did I understand from your opening remarks that one person you've heard from was reticent or hasn't exactly given her permission yet? Was that the gist of that?
That's correct. That's correct, yeah. But not unwilling to work with us. The door is open. It's just, she needs to be just convinced and that she's not going to be assuming a long-term maintenance cost when there's really no income coming from the property, which is, I think, a reasonable question for her to ask.
And snow removal is always a question with we should always expect that question with the sidewalk project.
Yeah, yeah. I would say we're going to work something out, is what I would say.
Just so that I'm sure that I understand, the concern there is my property now has a sidewalk. In the event of snow, then I'm beholden to keep it clear.
Right.
And if I don't, I might get a citation of some kind. So
that is correct. That is correct.
I understand. I will say that there's, similar to the Rivanna Trail, there may be some reticence, but this would be more in an owner-occupied situation where, one of the reasons this street needs the sidewalk is it's a street that sees an unbelievable amount of pedestrian use.
Yeah.
Often with people with groceries in hand and strollers, and but the sidewalk will bring those same people closer to our homes, and in some cases that maybe needs some. I can see how some people might be made nervous by that. There's different comfort level, and of course the setbacks here are really variant.
Yeah.
With Eli to the left of me being one of the closer people to the sidewalk, and he might even lose his chain link fence in the process, which is he's more than happy to sacrifice. But you know, he's almost in a position to shake hands with the people that walk by on the sidewalk, where like the neighbor to the other side of me is a huge setback and a privacy fence, and so that is maybe something like if before contact is made, to sort of like look at the aerial and see what that particular situation is like.
Right.
Is very different than for someone else perhaps. And then but also just saying that like no response is a different initial conversation than a negative or reticent response.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it seems like with these some of these LLCs, it's just even a matter of getting a hold of the person who is able to give permission.
You know, it is, and as these letters go to businesses, to LLCs and property management companies, depending on the amount of work they have or business they have, I've experienced where there has to be more urgency in the letter before they will pay attention, because it's not worth their time and effort otherwise. And so I would expect with this next round of letters, which won't be as soft as the first round, we'll get attention and move it from there.
Is it a matter, would it be helpful for someone such as myself to volunteer to actually play detective and try to like find a person to actually speak to on the phone?
No, I would rather that, because these are, except for one property, it's an LLC or a corporate entity. And so I would rather not do that as far as getting anyone else involved in the right-of-way process, simply because it is very directly controlled by the Uniform Act, and the city is really the only ones that can reach out to property owners having to do with right-of-way acquisition. As far as whether they like the sidewalk or not, or whether they want the trees or that sort of thing, that's different. That's different, I think. But as far as contacting back and forth between the city, that has to be the city.
Got it. So there's nothing I can do to be helpful at the moment,
other than the things you have been doing, which is helping with the trees, and just whenever you talk to people saying, gee whiz, we're going to get a sidewalk, and won't that be great? And you know, you've been very helpful already. I mean, the tree issue would not have come to my attention without you.
Cool. Well, thank you.
So Bill has his hand raised again. I'm gonna bring him in.
Yeah, I was just curious whether you could address in general whether it's going to be like, you know, 2 11-foot travel lanes, 5-foot city standard sidewalk, and
Sure.
is a striped bike lane and protected bike lane.
Yeah, just for real clarity, this is a sidewalk project and not a streetscape project. So we are building the sidewalk. It's a 5-foot standard city sidewalk. We're putting curb and gutter along the frontage, even in the places where it is not existing. And we're doing the drainage improvements needed to support that. But we are not proposing new bike lanes. There is actually a fair amount of pavement out there. And so we don't have to create additional lane in the area as well. It is very focused on sidewalks only. If we are being asked to provide bike lanes, I think we would have to study the existing widths all along this frontage and then determine what that would mean. These days, a 5-foot bike lane really isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for something 6.5 feet, and hopefully a buffer of a 1.5 to 2 feet. That would be the standard that we would like to see. Then you add the 2 11-foot lanes, and all of a sudden, you know, you're into 30 to 32 feet of paved area from the edge of gutter. I'm not sure we have that much pavement out there, put it that way.
Tim, as you're gathering follow-up materials, if you could find out when this is scheduled to be repaved.
Sure.
And I do think it's smart to use that opportunity to get quicker bike lanes. We don't need a streetscape, and who knows what'll happen on the other side of the street.
Sure. Well, I'll take both of those questions and I'll fold them into, getting an answer and funneling it through you then, Peter, if that's okay. And as well as I will check into what we can do. The engineer doesn't have as his scope preparing an exhibit rather than just engineering plans, which would, and I know exactly, Bill, what you're asking for is something that people can look at rather than and Jenny, rather than an engineered document. So I'll see what we can do in-house here at the city to produce something that would make it a little more clear to folks to see.
So it looks like Jenny has her hand raised again.
Hi. Yeah, the rendering could be a fun project for a student or intern or something, maybe. Maybe I wanted to, so I found my spreadsheet. I just wanted to circle back to that real quick. So I'm showing, and since I'm not sure if Peter or Bill realized this, if they haven't studied the plan, the sidewalk is only budgeted to go as far as the trailer park. It will not go past the trailer park.
So if I was wondering about that because
so it stops at the corner of David Slazak's property at 722 Franklin.
Okay.
So it's not going to take you as far as Carlton.
It doesn't take you as far as Carlton. It does take you into the frontage of the trailer park there and ties to existing sidewalk.
Oh, right, because there are some like existing sidewalks that buffer the trailer. So, so is that one trailer then someone you need permission from, or that?
They don't. The land is owned by.
Sorry, let me rephrase that. The registered agent who manages Sunshine Court, are needing to hear from him because of that one trailer section?
We have contacted or tried to contact the trustee for Sunshine Court LLC.
Okay.
That's the legal entity that.
And then David, Eli, and I are in the bag. Can I just ask about the neighbor immediately to the other side of me, Ed and Sherry Ryan? Have they responded?
Bear with me. I believe so.
708.
Yes, and she is happy with the project, and she intends to
Great.
proceed. Yeah, I had a very nice visit with her on March 4th.
Okay. So that leaves, so it's 13 property owners all together, and at least 4 of us are totally green light.
Right.
And you said there's, sorry. Okay. I'll touch base with you later about the spreadsheet. I was just kind of curious about my immediate neighbors. That's all. Thanks.
Yep.
So it doesn't look like anybody else's hands are raised. If you guys wanted to continue.
Alrighty, so that is actually all I have for tonight. Tim, I can help you with the 1-pager. I think we did that for the 10th and page project.
Wonderful.
So we can work together on that.
Sure.
Once we have all the materials put together, we'll send it back to Peter and the task force. And Peter, if you don't mind sending it to the rest of the community members, that would be great help to us.
I'd be happy to, definitely.
Perfect. That is all I have for tonight. We can go ahead and adjourn.
Before we do, what's sort of the timing of our next contact?
Depending on how the 3rd certified letters go, we can recap from there. One thing to keep in mind is the Belmont priority neighborhood terms are due. So your, I guess, term on the task force are due August 27, 2021. So if we don't have a meeting, or if we end up meeting after that, you'll have to put in a new application to renew your term. But I'll send you guys a reminder before then. But let's wait until after the 3rd certified letters to meet
Okay,
again.
but not all the way till August, please.
No.
Okay, thank you. That's good.
Yes. Alrighty, we can adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks.